the healthiest thing that you can do in your life is to become more flexible about ideas and open yourself up.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
You have heard about the law of attraction. Of course you have. What about the opposite of the law of attraction? Want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company, Spark. Spark is the ability for you to save time and money. I'll tell you about that in just a few minutes, but first you can go to Spark4, F-O-R, appraisers.com, Spark4appraisers.com. All right, folks, I've told you on this program before that I don't like the secret. No, not that secret. The other secret. The book, the movie, you know what I'm talking about. The Secret, right? It's not that I don't like The Secret, it's that it doesn't go far enough, right? It teaches, in my opinion, it teaches that if you wish for something long enough, it will come to you. Now, I think there is actually a lot of truth in there. What I would say is, rather than thinking about stuff and expecting a bag of gold to drop into your lap just because you focus on it every single day, I would say that there's a bigger principle at play here. And the principle is simply this: what you focus on becomes bigger, right? And once you understand this principle, it first of all, it makes common sense. Second of all, it will change your life because you will understand the power of focusing on good things in your life and not focusing on the negative, which is where we're going to go today. We're going to go to the negative. Again, there's a lot of good points in The Secret. There's a lot of points that I just don't think it helps to explain fully what the principle is. So the law of attraction, again, what you focus on becomes bigger. There is an opposite rule or law or principle at hand here as well. And that law is called the law of avoidance. Have you heard of it? The law of avoidance. Well, it basically is something that drives us whether or not we like it or not. Basically, we're going to avoid negative things. That's it. That's summed up. Now, that can be in many, many different aspects, right? We fear change. We fear rejection. We fear loss. We fear failure. Anything that gets in our day-to-day or outside our bubble of our day-to-day is something that we, by nature, fear because we don't like new things. We don't like to have the possibility that what's working, what's good, even if it's not the best. This is interesting, right? I don't want to get too deep into this, but my daughter is studying at school, and specifically she's studying clinical psychology, therapy, counseling, that kind of thing. And it is very interesting when she shares with me some of the things that she's learning about abusive relationships, that individuals will often stay in an abusive that's very obvious abusive simply because they avoid change, simply because they don't want to step outside of what they are used to, even if that thing that they're used to is negative. And I think all of us, to one extent or another, fall into that category. The law of avoidance is that we are going to naturally avoid change, naturally avoid things that threaten our status quo. When we get back from the break, I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas that might help you. And I'm going to tell you a story. But first, I want to tell you about Spark. Spark for Appraisers. Folks, what is it? If you're not familiar, you just check out their website. Just go to spark4appraisers.com. There's a couple of videos on there that will show you what it does. Basically, you are still in charge as the appraiser, right? You are in control. You're in the driver's seat. You take this information that you've chosen, that you've selected, hit one button, and download it directly into your report, regardless of the report writing software that you are utilizing. Well, up to an extent, but the major ones. And saving you time, saving you from making mistakes when you look on one screen and think the number is 823 and you go over here and it's 238, right? Because you're mixing them up or you're fat fingering something. That is what Spark will do for you, in addition to so many other things. Check them out. Go to spark4appraisers.com. Again, spark4appraisers.com. right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you in the podcast chair. We're talking about the law of avoidance, about the opposite of the law of attraction, right? Wouldn't you know? In a sense, it's not the opposite at all. It's actually very, very similar. The law of attraction is what you focus on becomes bigger. The law of avoidance is what you avoid because you are fearful of change will not come into your life. Okay, because we stay in abusive situations, we stay in the status quo because it's comfortable, right? It's that blanket that we can hold on to. Let me tell you a quick story, and then maybe a couple of principles to help you to avoid the law of avoidance. Yes, I said that correctly. All right. Years ago, and I grew up in Idaho, right? And I love the outdoors. And in fact, yesterday I went for a motorcycle ride and went out and spent some time in the woods with my son, just walking through the woods and just having a great time, right? This is one of the joys of living in the greatest state on the planet. But years ago, I had an opportunity to get into archery. Now, archery is a big deal in Idaho, right? There are archery shops and there are people that their religion is archery, right? And one of the problems with getting into archery for me years ago, this is many years ago, was the fact that it was so intimidating to be surrounded by all of these experts and to feel like I was not. Now, the archery world is very friendly. The archery world is very welcoming. The archery world is very proselyting, if you will. Proselytizing in nature, meaning they would love more and more people to join their ranks. Unfortunately, what happened in my mind was the law of avoidance, right? It was not something I was used to. It was not within my bubble. And for many decades, I avoided archery, even though I was surrounded by friends and family that was very into it. A couple of years ago, my sons decided that they were going to get into archery. What I found is that I was frequently on the sidelines. I was frequently not involved in their lives, and I didn't like that one bit. Okay. And I know this is a very simple example, but I finally decided to get rid of the law of avoidance in my life when it came to archery and tiptoe into that world. Folks, it has, I don't want to oversell it. Okay. But to say that it's changed my life in positive ways is not overselling it. Has it completely transformed my life? No. But yesterday, in addition to riding my motorcycle in the morning, spending some time in the woods with my son in the afternoon, the evening was closed. As the sun was going down, I was with three of my sons in my backyard shooting our bows at hay bales, and it was wonderful. And we spent some great time talking and enjoying each other. And I'm so glad that law of avoidance did not have hold in my life the rest of my life to avoid something as fun and enjoyable as this thing we call archery. Now, how does that apply to you and I? And how can we avoid things, right, that the law of avoidance would cause, right? The healthiest thing that you can do in your life is to become more flexible about ideas and open yourself up. No matter how often I put something on this podcast that is new, I'm going to get immediate feedback and negative feedback from the naysayers out there, right? Because it's new, because it's change, sometimes we don't even look at it, okay? I would suggest that you try to do new things at least once a week, okay? Now, I'm not asking you to transform your entire persona, but what I am asking you to do is take small baby steps in some ways that are a little bit uncomfortable for you. You will be shocked and surprised at the new things that can come into your life because of it. Speaking of new things that can come into your life, how about a trip to Hawaii? That's right. We are going to Hawaii as part of the mastermind. So thrilled. In January, we're going to be doing the mastermind from paradise. We're calling it Masterminding in Paradise. And you are welcome to come if you are a member of my mastermind team. If you're interested in this 3-day extravaganza in Kauai during the whale season, I implore you to reach out to me and ask me what it's all about. I would be happy to guide you through that process. Thank you again for joining me today, folks. Avoid the law of avoidance. Go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.